Hello everyone, Caroline here. In today's video I want to share 5 cards that I created with the Spellbinders Karten Kit for the month of September. The theme of the kit was Whimsical Forest. So let's get started with card number 1. For my first card I stamped out the gnomes that came on the stamp set with Further Fine Clair Nocturne ink. This is my favorite black ink to use when watercoloring, and I just colored those little gnomes quickly with my watercolors, my traditional watercolors. Then I am creating a little background here. This is supposed to look like sky with clouds, and I'm just dropping in just different types of blues, light and dark, and you could also use those distress inks that I had there, the Stormy Sky and the Tumble Glass. Now this card's gonna be a shadow box card. And this is got the background for this, so the back of the card inside. Here you can see my box that I created. If you want to see the measurements for this, just go into my description box. I linked the video there that shows you how I created this box. Now I cut out the little gnomes with the dies that came in the set, and I also cut out the frame that came with the set and some of the grass areas. Now I am using my distress ink here, and I am edging pattern paper from the set, from the paper pad. I'm preparing this front for my shadow box card, so this will be the side where you look into the box, and I wanted to have this frame, so I wanted to cut through my pattern paper and my box. I'm securing this with my low-tech tape and then run this to my machine. When this is done, I have to be careful. I'm poking everything out, and now I have my frame and my background front ready, and I will glue first the pattern paper on with my liquid glue here, making sure I put this the right way. They're a little different top and bottom, and then I'm taking the frame that I cut out with the gold foil, and on the back I'm attaching it with some magic tape, making sure I'm grabbing the edges. I'm going all around the sides and also the corners, making sure everything is secured. And here you can see how my front is ready now. Then I'm adding my sides panels. And then I am trying to get this all straightened up, and then I'm starting with my background here. So here's my sky that I created. This will be first, and then I'm adding this other pattern paper on top, and I want this to look almost like a forest. So I'm using one of my like a curved die. You could easily cut this by hand, but since I have this die, I'm just using this. So then I'm using my distress ink and ink up the edge of this, and then I glue this on. And then I cut out those little clouds, just 3 of them, and add them to the sky. Now I'm adding this to my background, and then to my background panel, and then I'm using liquid glue and close my box here. And that's how it looks now when you look inside the box. Now I'm using some of the green cardstock, and I cut this to size, and I scored the right and the left edge about a 1/4 inch. And then I'm adding those little green grass pieces on top. And then I'm insert this into my box here, and I'm gluing the sides using liquid glue. And I'm using this liquid glue because it gives me a little wiggle time to get this secured before it completely sets. And this is going to be my first layer. And then I'm going to add another layer that I cut a little bit higher. And I'm insert this as well. And now I have literally like 3 hills when you look into the box. Now I'm using one of the die cut pieces that looks like leaves that look like trees, those little ones, and I will attach them to my background there, and I'm using foam tape to give it another dimension, and then I secure this into the back there. Then I have this little tree stump there that I added to the first layer, and I'm adding another leaf tree to the second layer there. And for this tree stump there, I cut away the white outline so it fits nicely into the scene. So there, and then I'm starting to arrange my little gnomes. And I'm just securing them with liquid glue. That's the second, the third one, and I'm attaching it to the tree as well. And then for the front, I also added those little mushrooms that I stamped out and colored as well. And then I'm checking if another gnome would have space, but I decided to leave it as it is. And then I'm stamping out the sentiment that came on the stamp set. That sentiment that says there's no gnome like you, and add it to the top. And here is my finished card. Now this card will easily fit into an A2 envelope. Now card number 2. Unfortunately, my battery died on my camera, so I don't have the process of showing you how I created this card. So, and since those leaves came only one time in the set, in the kit, I am not able to recreate it on camera, so I'm just gonna explain you what I did. I cut out a card base out of this dark maroon color, and then I used the die from my stash and this little scallop and cut a pattern paper 2 times. The first one I glued in the middle, and then the other I cut in 2 and added it to the sides. And then I distress inked the edge of that and just glued it flat onto my base. Then I used all those leaves that came in the kit, and I actually manipulate them by using ink. First I colored the edges. You can see here I'm just had a few left over, so I'm just going to show you quickly how I did. I just went around the edge and I used just matching colors, browns and greens, and I have this set of archival inks here that I used for this because those colors matched very well. Then I'm using my tool here, my leaf tool. You can also use a little spoon or a credit card or something. Just went through the middle of it and folded the leaf, and then I used my other flower tool here and I went around the edge to give this leaf kind of a real, more realistic look. And I did this to all of the leaves that I used for my card. There you can see how that looks very realistic. It gives some dimension to it. And I also inked the other side of the leaves, so I don't have a white cardstock peeking out of this when I have this attached to my card. And here again I just show you how I did those leaves. If you don't have like a foam pad like I have there, that's kind of a Sizzix one, you can also use fun foam for that, so like 2 or 3 layers. And here then you can see I just underneath I have one of the frames that came in the die cut piece, and I used that as my guide. I can glue that on first, and then I arranged my leaves all around this frame and on top. And then I used one of the hello, I stamped it, and I actually used embossing powder in gold and used the die that came in the set and added this, and also added some glossy accents, drops, and 2 of the butterflies. Card number 3. So for card number 3, I am making my card base out of another cardstock that came in the kit. I'm using this bright blue, and I also have this die from my favorite things. It's one of my favorite dies, and I used this Daisy May heart die to create 3 hearts, and I also have those 2 little hedgehogs that came on the stamp set. I stamped them and I also cut them out. Then I have those mushrooms that you just saw, and I cut them out of fun foam, and I will use them to stamp. Now I am using that first heart where I cut out in the middle. I want to make a shaker card, so this will be the top of my shaker card. And I used 2 blues here to distress oxide. One is the Broken China and the other one is the Mermaid Lagoon. And I give it kind of a modeled, effect. Then I decided not to use the piece that I cut out, but cut me another piece that's a little bit bigger to create my background, and for that I'm using the mushroom, and I'm using the VersaFine Clear in brown, and I'm just randomly stamp this little mushroom, and that's the middle size one, and I'm creating a pattern on this piece of cardstock. I also used the little teeny tiny leaves and acorn and flowers. And then I'm using those little fun foam piece that I cut out with my dies and attach it with double-sided low-tack tape to my acrylic block, and I'm just over stamping my mushrooms with different types of colors. And I'm using the colors that kind of match the you know, the lines that from the pattern paper that I will use in the background of my shaker element. And now, when this is dry, I cut out this piece with my die again. And there we go. Now I'm attaching this to my card. And I'm just using liquid glue for this. And then I'm adding my piece of pattern paper to my heart here, and I just did this to give this more stability for my shaker element. And then I'm creating my shaker piece here. First I am adding my tape here to add my acetate piece. And I cut this to size, and then I'm adding my foam tape. And I'm doing a double layer of foam tape. So I'm going around one time, and I have to do that in pieces because of the shape of the heart. So it's not the easiest shape for a shaker card, but it works. So then when I'm done with the other layer, added the other layer of foam tape, I will add my sequins here, and the sequins are the sequins from the kit. And then I'm adding my back piece here, and here is my shaker element. Then I'm using some distress tea dye ink, and I'm just distressing the edge of my little hedgehogs here, and then I will attach them. First I'm attaching my heart, and then I'm adding my hedgehogs here, and then I'm using this little heart that comes from that sticker sheet and put it right on top of the two hedgehogs. And then I'm using this hedgehogs and kisses as my sentiment, and I'm gonna stamp this out on just white cardstock, and I'm using my brown VersaFine Clear ink for that. And then I cut this to size and add it to the top of my heart. And here's my finished card. Card 4. Okay, for card 4 again I created my own card base here, and I used that navy blue color. Then I used this pattern paper, and I cut out two of the frames. I wasn't sure what color I want to use for this, and I have all those flowers that came in the kit, and I actually decorated them with some glitter, that's just stickles, and some Nuvo drops. And I cut this pattern paper to size and add this to my card base here. And then I'm using actually the gold frame. I decided to go with that and add this to my card. And then glue this on in an angle. And I'm sticking 2 of the flowers from the die cut set just flat with glue onto my background here. And then I want to create an arrangement of flowers using my frame here as a guide. And I'm sticking this on with foam tape. First I'm using the outer leaves, so I'm starting with the bottom. And I also added little glossy accents to the little berries on those things. And here I'm just shaping my flowers. I want to give them a lot of dimension, and I'm gluing on. I use my Crafty glue dots to give them more dimension and glue them together. I'm just using my fingers to shape those flowers. Unfortunately, this paper is not so it doesn't really let it, the shaping is not as I wished it would be with this paper, but I think it works out. And I am just adding now my flowers. I'm figuring out how I want to arrange this, and then I'm gluing this all together. And I'm trying to figure out where I want to put my sentiment. And here you can see how I fiddle with this. I just let that in because I want you guys to see how I figuring out how I do my arrangements, so you can see that there very nicely. And then I'm using my last one here and want to put this underneath, and sometimes that doesn't fit properly. Then I'm just going ahead and cut this to size. And then I decided to put a glue dot there so it's all nice and tight. I have this little flower where I try to figure out where I put that, and in the end I thought here's the spot, and I just glue this on. And then I'm having my little sentiment that says smile, and I'm just putting a little twine there and make a little bow on it. And then I'm attaching this there on the top corner. I'm giving it foam tape to give it a little bit more dimension. And then for the final touch, I'm using my Gold Coast Nouveau drops and added some glitter to my leaves and to my card. And here is my finished card. Okay, card 5. So for card 5, I have my white card base here, and I cut a piece of that yellow cardstock to size and have a bunch of die cuts here, and I chose one of those frames that came in the kit. And I'm just gluing one of the frames to a piece of white cardstock here, and then I cut this out. I fussy cut this out, and then I'm adding the other frame with foam tape on top to create a little 3D element. And then I have this little mole here, and I'm adding also foam tape to it to create a 3D. And then I'm adding my background here, and I'm using just this tape that comes in the kit for this, and making sure I have this on the right side there. And then I have this stamp here, the stamp set, which says I love you in all kinds of languages. And I'm using, this is from Stamperia, and I'm using my white Hero Art ink here. And I just want to give this pattern paper a little bit more texture, and I'm just stamping this in white onto the pattern paper. And then when this is dry, I am cutting it to size with my my favorite things, stitched rectangle die. Here it is, and I'm adding this to my card background. And again, I'm using this tape that is in the kit for this. Now I'm adding this to my card here, and I think that looks very nice with this scripty font. Then I'm adding my little mole here with some foam tape, and also this a little letter here, so it looks like the letter he holds in his hands comes out of that envelope. And then I have this sentiment with love, and I'm adding this to the top of my frame, and add this whole thing then to the middle of my card. And then I'm using one of the 3D stickers and add that on, and I have one of the leaves and this apple. I want this to be kind of like in the primary color scheme, bright. And I have also this little flower here, the other apple. I'm just trying to figure out how I arrange this. I have this big flower that I still want to add there because I thought there's too much open space there. And then I'm adding my Cold Ghost glitter drops, and here is my finished card. So here are again all my cards. Here's my shadow box, and you can see here how I fold this. And I have an envelope just to show you that it fits nicely into snugly into an A2 envelope. So you could send this in an A2 envelope, but I think this would be better protected in a little bit bigger envelope, but that's certainly up to you. Now, then I want to say thank you for staying and watching my video. I appreciate that, and I hope you have, or you got some inspiration out of this, out of this video that you could use to create cards with your kit, or even cards with stuff that you have in your stash. So I hope I see you in my next video, and until then, I hope you stay well and have a great time. Bye.